Alright everyone, Atlas the Wizard here. Today we'll be making a review for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This will be my platinum review and my personal experience playing Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. For the most part, I've platinumed every single Borderlands games. This includes Borderlands 1 through 3. I've also platinumed Tales from the Borderlands. As for the pre-sequel of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, I think I only played halfway and I got a little bored from it. But the best way I can describe this game, it's mostly tied to Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 2. I would say that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is a little bit better than Borderlands 3 in a good amount of ways. But off the bat, let's just get into the game. Tiny Tina's is a T for teen game. And right now, it's a good time to buy the game. Currently, there's a sale on PlayStation for 20% off. But in terms of it being T for teen, I wouldn't say it's a big gripe, but it's just more so the fact that Tiny Tina has always been introduced as this violent, brutal character. And maybe it's just me, but I maybe didn't really like the tone down of how it is. But it doesn't really take much out of it. I would say this is more in touch to Tiny Tina's one-shot adventure. This is a continuation of that game. However, the only problem is that in terms of story, a lot of characters that we know, like I said, I played all the Borderlands games and I platinumed them. Most of the characters aren't present, even like small side characters like Moxie. Claptrap makes an appearance here and there. Um, you're not really gonna get most of the well-known comedic effect characters like Mordecai. It's a bit of a shame, but I can sense that they have like more of a vulgarity to them, right? They're a little bit more vulgar, set in another universe. But at the same time, I do wish that Tiny Tina was a little bit more violent and not as PG-13. I get that this game was trying to grab certain demographics, but in the future, I would say just advertise the game as T for Teen or rated M because there were a lot of people that purchased the game. And I would say that is a negative, just going in blind in the future for a Borderlands game. I don't really recommend it for newcomers, especially. But if this is your first game, I'm going to talk about what makes this game great and what doesn't. I'm going to try to refrain too much from the gameplay, but I will talk about the gameplay. Off the bat, this game has a lot to offer. Um, as you can see, we do have a map here. This will be the main map. But as veterans who have played a lot of Borderlands, you know that this doesn't, you don't have vehicles anymore. Yeah, the overlook is very expansive. The overworld is very expansive. But it's just kind of like click and go, fast travel mechanics. And I think that works. Some of the maps are a little bit too big, and I wish that they had more local travel. As you can see here, it's a little bit scattered. But I would say like a positive for these new maps is that there's introduced cosmetics, which are free, and I really like that. You have that same customization that you had before. This time you don't have a preset of 4 characters. As a matter of fact, you get to build your own character, which I think is really fun. And I think it switches up just the formula that Borderlands is known for. And I do appreciate that in some aspects. But again, like I said, there are some negatives. So right now we're in the gameplay section of my review. We already gone through the story aspect. Yeah, the story aspect is pretty strong, although it be a little bit linear, kind of like Tina's one shot. I guess we already established that. But yeah, let's start getting into the gameplay. Here we have more inventory slots. Just to have more customizations. We've replaced the the grenades with spells, which I think it's fine. It doesn't really change how you play the game. However, the biggest emphasis that I got from this game is the melee. As you know before, melee wasn't a big thing, In previous Borderlands. If you look back at Borderlands 1, the melee is kind of clunky and it's kind of whatever. I would say that the melee here is also just as clunky. And it doesn't do that much damage. I think the only reason why I have a weapon or why you should even use a weapon is for the stats. As you can see here, the melee damage and attack damage and critical damage carry over to what weapons I have, right? Um, Sadly, hopefully there's like a buff in the future to kind of make melee a little bit more viable. Right now, especially at a high level, which I am now, meleeing enemies is kind of a detriment. You're kind of just um, granted, there's other builds, which I should have mentioned. I guess there's other builds where that might be a little bit more viable, but for my build, um, it's it's a little weak. I would think that it's definitely something to look into. Same with rocket launchers. Rocket launchers aren't as strong as previous entries in the Borderlands series. Um, but yeah, let's move over. What else? What else can I talk about? This is a platinum review, so you will have expansions for your backpacks. You will have expansions for your gear as you progress. One of the hardest platinums, well, not really, well, not hard the platinums. One of the hardest trophies in the game and the most time consuming, if we are going to go for the platinum, will be the Pack Mule trophy, which if you've played previous Borderlands games, let me fast travel here real quick. If you played other Borderlands games, it's basically like upgrading you know, your weapons, like how much ammo, basically like increasing the capacity for the things that you have, like your backpack, different slots, your weapons, sniper ammo, all that good stuff. So you're gonna have that here. As you can tell, I already maxed out everything, and this will definitely take out a good amount of time. The rest of the trophies are gonna be mostly tailored to the story. And I will talk about the online aspect when I talk about chaos mode in a few. But let's keep going here. In terms of skills, there's a lot of classes to choose from. Um, you know, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of classes to choose from. Some better than others. The developers currently are updating the characters or the classes to kind of make them a little bit more viable, especially when you start going into chaos level, which I will talk about later. But I started spell weaving because I just liked how it sounded. Just blasting spells and being at a distance, right? That's kind of what I was going for. And then later on, you can choose a second class, which is really fun. I chose Mushroom Companion because I was a flak player in Borderlands 3, and I like the aspect of my companion reviving me, especially when you start getting into the higher difficulties of the game. I think it's really important that you have someone to revive you, especially if you're playing solo, which you might, because right now, um, the system that's in Borderlands right now, I get disconnected really easily, so I kind of don't really have a choice but to play by myself half of the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes the servers just spaz out and it's not really fun. I guess that's one of the negatives I would say for online. However, with that being said, say if you're already max level 40, um, you're gonna have this thing called Mythic Rank. While in previous Borderlands, uh, if we start talking about DLC, there's there's a higher emphasis of leveling up past the level cap. If you start doing some of the DLCs, and I think in Borderlands 3 you can go up to level 55, but the cap base wise was 40 or something like that. Someone could correct me in the comments. Please do. Um, but if we start talking about Mythic Rank is basically once you reach level 40, each time you level up naturally, you're going to get one mythic point. And then these mythic points are going to go for these. So basically, how Myth Rank works is say you leveled up once, you get 1 point. Now, 1 point can be distributed to one of these slots here. I would say the negative there's the good and the bad. The good is this is like you can endlessly upgrade your character, which I think it's fine. The only bad thing is that some of these are better than the other, and you'd wish that you would put one skill in a specific tree as opposed to going clockwise. So basically, it goes clockwise. You put 1 point into Druid. Now it goes to Archmage. You can't go backwards, if that makes any sense. It's always gonna keep going clockwise. The weakest one at the moment, like I said, blades are kind of non-existent in the meta. Blades are pretty weak, and as you can tell here, once I already upgraded strength and constitution, you kind of don't really have a choice but to upgrade melee, and the melee kind of sucks, so Blade Master is a little bit useless. Um, and yeah, I put it into dark magic, but everything else, it's a little weak. It's not, it's definitely something where your weapon that you find is gonna be helping out with this. Maybe not critical chance, but melee damage, like I said, is a little weak. On the other hand, Deadeye is the best one, I would say, personally, just because you can do so much, like gun handling. Look at this magazine size, movement speed, which I wish they added movement speed into Blade Master. That would give me a reason to not just put all my stats into melee damage, you know? We have reload speed and then the cream of the crop, the gun damage, which will definitely help once we start getting into chaos mode. But overall, this makes for uh, just playing a lot more, even after the end game. Well, during the end game. So I think for me personally, I believe this is the Borderlands where I put in the most amount of hours. I would say over 100 hours, as opposed to previous Borderlands where it was like a little bit more um, linear and more, there was more side quests and more main quests to do. Um, but let's start talking into Chaos Mode. Chaos Mode is what you'll be doing after you beat the main story. I don't want to show Chaos gameplay because there are some characters there that kind of are spoilers to the main story, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So that's why this video is mostly just talking about the specifics. I don't want to put gameplay out in the background as well because I want you guys to just focus to the main points I want to talk about as someone who's completed the game. But yeah, Chaos Mode. Chaos Mode, you will do trials to expand each Chaos Mode. Um, and when the game came out, it was Chaos Modes or Chaos levels 1 through 20. They've updated the cap to 35, which is 15 more points, which is nice. So with each chaos level, as you can tell, the stats change, and as the higher you put it, um, the higher the percentage of loot. The one problem I do have with chaos mode at the moment, if you go from chaos level 34 to 35, you start seeing that we have primordial gear. That's the biggest problem with chaos mode at the moment is the fact that the end game does matter. And if I'm just getting like just regular legendaries, just like previous Borderlands games, let's say you want to farm a boss, let's say LeChance. LeChance is one of the bosses. To get the sword explosion, if you currently you can only really get the volatile gear, but even then that's a 17%. If you really think of the percentage, a 1.16, that's basically a 1 out of 100 chance if I fight LeChance, the boss. So I'd have to do it 100 times. And even then, he won't drop the volatile weapon that I want. I think that's a problem right now. Hopefully it gets addressed. Maybe we have a different level cap for Chaos Mode. But right now, it's kind of taking people out of the experience. Um, as someone who already platinumed the game, that won't really be an issue for me. But at the same time, you need to take into account, um, the future of the game. And speaking of the future of the game, I'm going to start talking about the DLC, the new DLC, Coiled Raptors. It's not entirely new. It came out uh, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks ago. But Coiled Raptors is $10. And I would say this was kind of a disappointment for me. Um, yeah, this doesn't take away from the base game as someone who's platinumed it. These trophies are completely separate. There's only two trophies for Coiled Raptors, and it's a shame because this is a spin-off and I was expecting more out of the universe. Coiled Raptors for $10 kind of isn't worth it. And it's deterring a lot of mainstay players to play it. I mean, I got the chaotic legendary edition or whatever, the gold edition. But it doesn't change the fact that The boss is pretty easy, and there's only one new variation. If we click in here, there's only four difficulties, and then the boss doesn't really change all that much. He's still kind of a pushover, especially if you have kind of like a pretty good build. All right, let's start getting into the overall rating. The overall rating for Tiny Tina's Wonderland for me, it's going to be a 7.3. The missions are a little bit linear and what I was kind of expecting. The story doesn't really pull at your heartstrings. It's kind of just like a better Borderlands 3, just with kind of the same mechanics and kind of more things to do, I would say. I did enjoy the characters here more than I did Borderlands 3. And I think there's more fun to have. Like I said, the season pass is still up for grabs. We still have a year. Anything can happen within a year. And what I've noticed is that most of the reviews I've been seeing is just people that have played the game for a week and then just drop it. And that's a shame because I wanted to make this review for you guys as someone who platinumed the game, as someone who got so much hours into the game, so much investment time. And I want you guys to get a perspective, especially for those that are new to the series and veterans alike. I would consider myself a veteran. Yeah, I don't do crazy builds. I just platinum the game, the base game. But we are just talking about the base game. But like I said before, the game is on sale for 20% off, and I think that's a good idea for what you're getting. Now is probably the best chance to get it. I mean, if we take into account the discount, I would actually bump this up to like a 7.6. But currently, I think it's a 7.3. It's a little bit above average for me, and I think that there's a lot to like if you got nothing else to play. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. Hope please like the video. I want to get it to 100 likes. Maybe I'll start doing more reviews. And hey, I'll even start writing a reviews for previous Borderlands. It might be a little bit late, but like I said, anything can happen in a year, and I might update my my rating for this game in a year's time when we get the entire DLC for the game, similar to Borderlands 3. But yeah, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.